It happens far from any ocean. No tides, no salt, no image most Americans grow up associating with maritime disaster. And that is part of what makes it so deceptive. A ship pushes into the black water of Superior under a hard November sky. Snow blows sideways through the beam of the running lights. Wind stacks the surface into dark, moving walls. Somewhere ahead is open water. Somewhere behind is the last safe shore. Then the radio traffic begins to thin out, and one more vessel enters the long history of a place that has swallowed ships for generations. Lake Superior is called a lake, but that word can hide what it really is. It is the largest and deepest of the Great Lakes, a body of fresh water so broad that weather builds across it with real force, and distance matters in ways people do not expect from inland water. It stretches across the border of the United States and Canada, touching Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ontario. On a calm day, it can look expansive and manageable. On a bad day, it feels much closer to an inland sea. That scale has always mattered. Mariners crossing Superior were not moving through a sheltered basin. They were committing to long reaches of open water where wind could build, visibility could collapse, and a ship under stress might have nowhere easy to hide. Shorelines that look like protection on a map can become hazards in their own right. Rock points, reefs, shoals, narrow entries, and exposed approaches that punish a vessel already in trouble. And then there is the cold. Superior is the coldest of the Great Lakes, and that changes everything. In cold water, time shrinks. A person in the lake may lose useful movement fast. Rescue becomes harder. Machinery, steel, judgment, and endurance all face the same pressure. The environment gives very little margin. That is why the number matters. Across the Great Lakes region, shipwrecks number in the thousands. In Lake Superior alone, roughly 350 are known. Many more may still be missing, unlocated in deep or difficult water. That is not the footprint of one famous accident. It is the record of a system that repeatedly punished error, bad luck, weak design, and sometimes simple exposure to forces larger than a crew could manage. The reasons changed with time, but the pattern did not. Early wooden vessels met reefs they never saw in time. Steamers ran into fog, fire, collision, and storm. Bulk carriers crossed under heavy loads through weather windows that narrowed faster than expected. Some wrecks happened near shore, where land seemed close enough to promise safety. Others went down in deep water so dark and cold that they nearly vanished from the human world the moment they were lost. Around Superior's margins, the coast itself helps explain the fear this lake earned. Basalt headlands push into weather. Harbor mouths can become dangerous under surf and crosswind. Fog can flatten distance until rock, water, and horizon seem to merge into one colorless plain. In fair weather, these coasts are beautiful. In breaking seas and low visibility, beauty becomes almost irrelevant. What matters is room, timing, and whether a ship already carrying damage can survive the next hour. Storm season made the danger famous. Autumn is when the lake gives up summer heat into colder air, and the atmosphere begins to organize itself differently. Strong systems move through. Winds lengthen over open fetch. Waves build. Mariners on the Great Lakes came to know the late-season storms as something more serious than rough weather. These were events that could remake the surface, drive water into harbors, and test even large commercial ships. That history reaches a wider American memory through one name: Edmund Fitzgerald. When the Fitzgerald entered Lake Superior in November 1975, she was not a fragile vessel. She was a large ore carrier, one of the best-known ships on the Great Lakes, moving iron ore from Superior, Wisconsin. But size did not exempt her from Superior's rules. As conditions worsened, reports indicated trouble.
The ship was taking on seas in a storm severe enough to damage equipment and strip away confidence. Another vessel nearby, the Arthur M. Anderson, remained in radio contact. Then the Fitzgerald disappeared. There was no dramatic final message to explain everything, no easy visual ending, just loss. All 29 men aboard were killed. The wreck was later found broken in two on the floor of Lake Superior. Investigations examined how the ship may have lost buoyancy and stability in the storm, including the role of flooding and structural vulnerability. Debate and analysis continued for years because this was exactly the kind of disaster people want to resolve completely. But the lake had already delivered its verdict before anyone reached the wreck site. In heavy weather, on cold inland water, a modern ship had still gone down with its entire crew. That is one reason the Fitzgerald remains so powerful in American memory. It was not an antique schooner from a distant age. It was a 20th century commercial vessel with experienced men aboard, lost in a place many people still underestimate because the word lake sounds smaller than the reality. And Superior keeps its evidence differently than the ocean does. Its cold, fresh water slows decay. Wrecks can survive with extraordinary clarity. Hulls, railings, fittings, cargo spaces, and broken lines of structure remain in the dark like preserved testimony. The lake floor becomes a museum without visitors, holding ships from different eras in conditions that can feel less like ruin than suspension. That has shaped the mythology around Superior. Stories grow around any place with a graveyard history, and this lake is inspired more than most. But the verified reality is already strong enough. Superior does not need embellishment. It is vast, cold, deep, exposed, and historically unforgiving. That combination is enough. Today, ships cross with better forecasting, better communications, better charts, and better situational awareness than earlier generations had. The lake is more understood than it once was, but understanding is not the same as control. A modern bridge full of electronics does not reduce the distance to shelter. It does not warm the water. It does not flatten a gale once Superior has room to build it. That is the lasting lesson here. These wrecks were not caused by mystery in the supernatural sense. They were caused by scale people misjudged, weather that built fast, coastlines that offered no easy recovery, and water cold enough to make every mistake more final. Call it a lake if you want. On paper, that is correct. But history recorded another truth in steel, timber, cargo, and names read aloud long after the ships were gone. Lake Superior is inland only by geography. In consequence, it behaves like one of the hardest waters on the continent. And for hundreds of ships, that difference was everything.